We got a 5-minute standby, so not to worry.
Okay.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome back. We're live for the sixth time now, seventh time. Woohoo! Everybody, go get your cup of reason. Gotta have your cup of reason to be here. I know I can't live without the stuff. You know that. So yeah, really looking forward to the show today. I got my good friend Mr. Rob Parks with me. He had me on his channel a while back, and I had such a good conversation with the man. I just had to return the favor. So he's with us tonight. Say hi, Rob.
Howdy.
How you doing?
Well, I'm doing all right. I have coffee now, so better.
Awesome, awesome. Good job. Can't live without the stuff. It's the juice of life. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah, like usual, there's no set topic or anything. We just kind of throw something at the fan, see what sticks. Just kind of see what's up with everybody. Catch up on what was a pretty damn busy week for me. How about you?
Yes, one of the things that I failed to realize with getting so I've restructured my courses, and one of the things I failed to realize was the amount of grading that I would have to actually be doing. So I am very, very behind on that.
Yeah, yeah. That's the bane of every teacher. Grading. It's you can have a great time in the classroom with the kids, but tell you there's a stack this high every friggin' year that you got to dig through, and you're reading everything page for page for page. So yeah, grading is no fun. I know the feeling.
Yeah, it's pretty much the bane of my existence at this point.
Yeah, exactly. So let's have a look and see who we've got with us tonight. Of course, we've got everybody's favorite Sable Eagle, our decrepit old military man who is waiting patiently for his caregiver to bring his ibuprofen. So she's on her way. Don't you worry, Sable Eagle. Chris Durham, of course, checked in. He's got to work, but hope he has a good day. He'll probably be watching this later. Clive Wells, always in the side chat. Hello, Clive. Always good to see you, buddy. Tiny Captain, welcome back. Always nice to see you, my good friend. Basic Trig is in the house tonight. Welcome, Basic Trig. That's about it for now. I haven't seen Dora yet. She's late. Somebody go tell Dora to get her butt in here. She's late. It's okay. I'm sure she'll show up when she gets a chance. So, yeah. So before we actually went live, Rob and I were having a bit of an interesting little conversation, and I thought maybe we could start with that, just carry it on, and that is
Sure.
how we as educators feel about the prospect of having parents in our classrooms. And Rob brought in a really, really good point. If you're a professional in any field, would you want someone else who has got no clue about what you do coming into your office and telling you how to do your job? So why don't you start off and tell us what you really think about that situation?
I think it's bullshit, to be honest with you. I mean, I know that I have it better than you, and a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, was a high school teacher for a while, and the stories that he would tell me about parental essentially interference, and and also it struck me that there was they had this expectation that their student should be doing, or their child should be doing far better in the class than they were, and the fault was not with little Johnny or little Susie; it was with the teacher.
Always.
And so thankfully I don't have that problem so much, because I do teach young adults, and so they are somewhat separated from their parents. Although I have had a couple of parents come at me before, but yeah, it's more of this undercutting of. To me, it's more of an undercutting of education as a profession. This idea that we need to be chaperoned, or there should be parental oversight as to what we're doing, and it's disrespectful in the sense that we are the professionals. We have trained for this. We in few cases there we've been doing this for decades.
Mhm.
So the idea that someone can come in and basically tell us what we should or should not be teaching is insulting.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I agree 100%. Now, I do have to kind of agree with the parents a little bit. All parents want their kids to do well, and all
Yeah,
parents have the hope that their kid will outperform the other kids in the class. But what they lose sight of is the fact that as a teacher, I don't have the luxury of singling out your boy or your girl as special and forget about the other 33 kids in my classroom. And that's what they lose sight of. As a teacher, I have to make sure all the kids get the best education that they can, and that means I've got to spread my time around and spread my help around. And a lot of parents, they just don't seem to understand that or don't want to accept that. You know?
yeah, and they also don't want to hold their own children accountable for the child's actions
Yeah,
or inactions in class.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, it's craziness. It's craziness. So, hello, Dorian B Gaming, in the side chat. Nimrod, welcome. I knew you would show up eventually. John Rapp, hello. How are you doing, good sir? Um, yeah, I did want to
Sable
ask
Eagle,
you.
I can differentiate that too. That's there you
Sable Eagle is a smart ass, isn't he?
go.
He really is. He really, really is. But that's why we love him around here, you know. But yeah, you're right. Linear algebra. I'm sorry to say, I don't mean to burst any bubbles, but I am horrible with algebra. I forget it. I'm useless with algebra. I just don't have a head for maths, advanced maths. I just don't have a head for it, and I've tried.
I struggle with it myself. I can back when I was using it, which I don't use it very much anymore because I'm primarily an instructor at this point.
Mhm.
But yeah, linear algebra was as high up as I could go,
Yeah.
and even that I was struggling with.
Oh yeah.
Although, Mhm.
Sometimes you'll come across a teenager that just gets it like that, runs
oh yeah,
rings around you with it, you know? And
yeah,
that's really cool to see that a kid can catch on to something so advanced so quickly. But then, at the same token, you're sitting there going, well, geez, I spent 4 years in teacher college and 10 years teaching, and I still don't get it. What the hell? You know? It's,
yeah. And it's also hard to mentor those students because it's kind of like, what am I, the best I can do with those students is guide them. It's not as if I can give them more information, or it's not as if I need to teach them how to learn, because they can obviously do that on their own.
Mhm.
So it's, for me, it's a challenge to know what to do with the very bright students.
Yeah.
And so it's more of just kind of trying to shape their perspective on what's important, what's not in terms of the subject matter, and trying to prepare them for the next set
Mhm.
of challenges.
Yeah,
So
that's a challenge for me, especially when you're at my level, teaching at the grade school level. You know, grades 1 to 5. Um, I've got some kids in my grade 5 classes, super bright, really smart kids. They're on the ball. They're often ahead of me with regard to the current lesson that we are teaching. But I don't want to discourage that. I want to encourage that and keep that student really kind of pushing himself. But at the same time, I'm trying to teach a kid, don't let your head get too big, because that will create an imbalance, and you don't want to know what happens if that occurs. You know, so it's a real juggling act, a real balancing act. You want to encourage the bright students, but you also don't want their heads to get too big, because it does become a problem.
yeah,
You know.
for for the college level, where that comes into play is that usually, you have students who are in high school level, and
Mhm.
they're the big fish in the small pond, and then they come to college and expecting to still be the big fish and have that culture shock of, oh, wait a minute, a lot of people around me are now are of equal intelligence or of equal ability than myself,
Mhm.
and some of them handle that pretty well, but those with huge egos, they can take quite a tumble in their first year.
Yeah, yeah, and that tumble can be very damaging, and you want to help them avoid that. And that's why I say, encourage their performance, but make sure you don't let their heads get too big because that tumble will come if
Mhm.
if they don't learn that lesson soon. You know, um, take what they're learning in stride. Push yourself, but don't go thinking you know it all because, buddy, you got a long way to go before that happens. You know. Um, let's see. What have we got in the chat here? Anybody?
Math.
Okay, Booma is in the house.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, the loudest Australian on planet Earth. Hello, sir. Good to see you. How are you? I can't even spell Aldebaran, Aldebaran Mats, but I can point to it in the sky.
So John Rapp, what constellation is Aldebaran in? I'm going to
Ah,
put you to the test here.
put you to the test, put you on the spot there, John Rapp. We shall anxiously await your answer. But I do have one question. I do have one question.
Sure.
And this is something that comes from not just the past 6 weeks since the school year started, but I'm speaking from 20 years in the classroom. I have serious issues and doubt with the efficacy of online learning. What's your take?
Yeah, I hesitate to really put to voice an opinion on it because I have no qualitative data on it. However, if there is a good way to, I will say this: if there is a good way to educate online, I haven't found it. I haven't even come close to finding it because the problem one of the problems stems from engagement. I mean, it's hard enough to engage students in the classroom, particularly
Exactly.
when in my class I have class sizes that are typically on the order of 200 students or so. So being able to engage that many students is nigh on impossible, but it's completely impossible to do it online because by the very nature, they're online. They're going to be checking Facebook. They're going to be checking Twitter. They're not going to be paying attention to what I have to say. And there's no face to face or very, very little face to face because usually they turn their cameras off. So I have no understanding of whether or not what I'm saying is resonating with them at all. So
I
don't have any metrics so far or I haven't seen any metrics on it, but I cannot believe that online teaching is worthwhile in really any way.
No,
I know that. Go ahead.
I think it's a good mechanism for a situation where you're tutoring or you're augmenting a lesson from the classroom after class hours. So in that regard, I think it's a useful tool and it can be relatively effective because the lesson has already been taught in the classroom. All you're doing is reinforcing the information they're either not understanding or missed. But as an actual first time exposure to a lesson and teaching that lesson, the likelihood of the students leaving that lesson having learned anything at all is slim. And when their cameras are off, I have no idea if that kid is even in the room. He's maybe next door playing with the kids or in his bedroom playing with his toys. I could be speaking to it. Nobody, so yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Have to wait and see how things happen once we do our first round of midterms. I think that'll be a very telling experience. So yeah.
Yeah. Good luck. The well, I guess I don't really know the word for it. Awkward might not be, but I have one of my classes. There's actually 30 students in it, so that's a little better. But it's also online.
Mhm.
And this was, I think, last semester. He actually kept his camera on, and what I discovered was that he was um, basically making food deliveries during my class. So he was driving and getting out periodically to hand people food and then get back in the car. I'm like, why are you even here? Like,
Yeah,
I mean, you're going to probably kill somebody, and I can't imagine you were learning anything from what I am saying.
not from the 2 or 3 minutes that he's actually engaged, if he's
Exactly.
engaged at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's no way to learn. And John Rapp, Rob says, "Good job, Taurus. Good job."
Yes, of course.
So you know your stars. You know what? I don't claim to be anything even close to an astronomer, but according to the zodiac, which is bullshit. We all know. Uh,
Yes.
I'm a Cancer, and I have no idea what the main star in Cancer is. None whatsoever. I couldn't
uh,
tell you if my life depended on
Honestly, I have to admit ignorance on that one as well. I know the beehive cluster is the most prominent object
it.
in
Hmm.
Cancer, but um, I could be a smartass and basically call it Alpha Cancri, which is there you go, Sable Eagle, which is just basically the alpha, beta, whatever is the alpha is the brightest star in the constellation, and then beta is the second, and so
There
forth
you
and so
go.
on. So yeah,
There you go.
I could be a smartass and say Alpha Cancri, but
But
what its
as
actual Arabic
as
name is, I have no idea.
as a properly trained PhD astronomer, how the fuck did anybody come up with drawing lines between stars to come up with pictures of animals?
Drugs. That's all I've got. That's the only thing I've come up
Because
with is boredom and
it
drugs.
makes no sense to me. I look up at the stars and I can't see shit in the way of zodiac signs.
There are a few that make sense. Like for instance,
The only,
Orion. I'm like, all right, I can
yeah,
see that's a dude.
that one I was just gonna say that one makes sense because there is a kind of an outline of an archer. There's
Yeah,
something there, and you've got Beetlejuice right there. I mean, you can't miss Beetlejuice, right?
yep,
But
and
other
Rigel.
than
Yeah.
that, I can't get my head around. Like Cassiopeia, that one makes no sense to me. It's
The W.
supposedly
Yeah,
a queen. It's supposedly a queen turned upside down.
yeah. She's lounging on a couch. Is where
All
I'm.
I see is a badly formed crown.
Yep. The Big Dipper makes sense if you go to the Chinese zodiac because it's a plow. So I'm
Uh-huh.
like, all right, I can see that. But the Western, the Greek zodiac, or the Greek constellation, it's a bear. But I've never seen a bear with a tail that's as long as its body.
Yeah,
So
yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that's another thing. I mean, there's no correlation. The Chinese got something totally off the wall from the Western zodiac. I mean, in the Western zodiac, I'm a Cancer. In Chinese, I'm a freaking ox.
yeah, I'm an Aries and a dragon, respectively.
Yeah. I mean, the whole astrology thing just yeah, LSD. It was a stronger in ancient Greece. You are absolutely right, Tiny Captain. It had to be LSD or something much stronger.
Yeah. And like I said, boredom. I mean, just kind of day after. I mean, you have this beautiful sky because obviously there's no light pollution.
Mhm.
And you have to tend to your flock night after night after night, and I guess you got to
Mhm.
do something and just make up stories and be like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's a ram. And yeah, Aries has 3 stars in it, three basically 3 naked eye stars. There are a smattering of really faint ones, but only
Mhm.
3. I'm like, how did you get a ram from 3 stars? So, yeah.
That makes no sense to me either. I mean,
Yeah,
I would say maybe the nose and the horns, and
yeah,
what
that's
about
what
the
I'm
rest of
thinking.
them? You
Yeah.
know, it just makes no sense to me at all. Um,
We have
Dora,
Dora.
hello, Dora. Dora's here. Yay, Dora's here. Hi, Dora. Good to see you, sweetie. Yeah, I'm super stoked to have Rob with us tonight. He's a great guy. I had such a good conversation with him on his channel. I
Mhm.
had to return the favor. So thanks for coming, Dora. I missed you there for a bit. um,
Now,
yeah.
I
So
got to respond to OK Booma. He's ever noticed that in American movies the moon is upside down? Well, yeah. I was. It kind of that comes to mind because we have a new planetarium here at George Mason, and I've been
uh-huh,
training the students on how to use it so that we can share the load during public nights. And one of the
uh-huh.
things we can do at the planetarium is we can go to Australia and see what things are. And we're like, oh look, the moon's upside down. So
Hmm. So what's the training program like to learn to operate the Zeiss projector?
see, well, we have, because it's a portable planetarium. It's a digital planetarium as opposed to a
Ah, okay.
opto mechanical one. But I have used the Zeiss in the past, and they are beautiful instruments. The
Hmm.
the only the pro on the pro side for the mechanical ones is that you cannot match the star field. The star field that it projects is crisp, it's clean, it's beautiful.
Hmm.
But you're limited in what you can actually do with it. I mean, there are certain bells and whistles that you can place onto the projectors, such as you can put in. I'm trying to think of what bells and whistles you can put on. You can put the planets on there, and so you
Hmm.
can watch the planets move with respect to the background stars. But you really can't do anything interactive where you zoom in on galaxies, or you can project like canned sort of IMAX dome sort of presentations in a Zeiss
Hmm.
with just simply a Zeiss. But it's in terms of training, it's basically it looks like a soundboard. Really, you just have
Ah,
a whole
okay.
bunch of knobs and levers to fiddle with. So
Cool. As long as you know what's where, anybody can operate it.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah,
Cool. Okay, Booma, he says it's right way up here.
right. Mm-hmm. All right. Well,
Hello, Facty.
hey, there's nothing like a
Yeah.
Mallory
Yeah.
debate.
So,
Oh gosh, she's still around. We're talking about the fact that Jeff is done with the flat Earth.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I am so done with it. Last week's video, I sat down and I swear to God, it was 4 takes to get through the entire Antarctic Treaty. But it was one I had to do. And yes, I took inspiration from Flurspective on his I told you once, I told you 1,000 times, and damn it if he didn't. you know? So I figured, well, somebody ought to do this with the Antarctic Treaty because I'm sick of them saying, you can't go there because they're going to turn you around or shoot you. Well, I wish they fucking would. I really wish they fucking would. Be glad to get rid of all of them flurfs. But,
Yeah.
I'm done with it. I can't deal with the stupid. And it's the same stupid over and over and over. They don't learn a damn thing from it. They just
The
don't learn.
the one flat earther that I am very keen on getting on my channel and talking to is Raichi, mainly because it, I don't. It's sort of a cognitive dissonance for me because she obviously knows, she can obviously understand physics, and she is
Mhm.
diving into sort of the in very introductory level of relativity, because her big thing is that since gravity isn't a force, therefore the earth is flat, or at least therefore the earth could potentially be flat. But what she's been harping on is the difference between classical mechanics and classical mechanics and relativity. And she understands the nuances there. So I really would like to know, if you understand this about physics, how is it that you're still clinging on to the whole relative density disequilibrium thing?
But she
So
seems to
say
be
that she understands physics better than most people on the flat.
yeah, but she is intentionally, belligerently, willfully ignorant, is what I'm trying to say. Like she will not accept the truth of the physics. She'll twist it to say what she wants it to say, and she will fight anybody who proves her wrong.
I've had some sort of made some inroads with her. I don't know. Another creator, I Can Science, that also was basically going back and forth with her with videos, and he eventually just gave up. He's like, I have tried to explain this to you, and I give up. He and I sort of have made inroads with her because we don't insult her, we don't badmouth her or anything of that nature. But you're right, it's like you can get her to water, but you can't make her drink it.
Yeah, that's right.
So, and I'm fascinated by that. I mean, it's frustrating, but I'm fascinated by why. Why would you not take that next step? So,
I can see why you'd be fascinated. I mean, it fascinates me how people can be that obviously ignorant, knowing that they're probably wrong and they're being proven wrong. They just won't accept it. They just won't learn from it and change their thinking. And that can be dangerous in some situations, I
just don't know where that obstinacy comes from. I don't know where that just inability to, I don't know. I hesitate to use the word accept, but to follow the line of reasoning that physics has to its natural conclusions. So I don't understand why she can follow it up to a certain point and then not go the basically the extra mile. So
well, that's just it. I mean, they find the point where they've got enough that they can twist it to what they want it to say, and they stop. They don't go further, and you have to go further to see the truth of it. They only go as far as getting enough that they can twist to say what they want to say. That's the way I see it. I could be dead wrong, but
see, the reason why I'm, she interests me is because for some reason, well, actually not for some reason, I was going to debate or talk to Anthony Riley about relativity, and he's like, I'll do it over Discord. And so he invited me over to the 24/7 Flat Earth Discord, which is hilarious, by the way. Just not to engage with them really at all, just listening to or just watching the feed. I thought I could not be surprised by these folks, but I was wrong. Apparently, not only is gravity not a thing, but energy is not a thing, and most forces are not a thing. Then what is? It gets to the point of you are dismissing pretty much all of reality at this point.
Yeah, you are dismissing existence is what you're doing.
Just all right, okay.
I just want to quickly address a comment from John Rapp. No, I have not heard from Carl Edwards in a while. I've been watching the Discords forum, and I have not seen anything. If anyone out there has heard from Carl Edwards, kind of give us a heads up. Let us know he's okay. Because it's been a fair few weeks since I've seen anything from him. So,
I've been off of the tubes for a few weeks now, as I mentioned before we went live. So I haven't seen him, obviously.
Dora says Rachie understands physics.
Like I said, better than most.
Yeah. Guess Rob hasn't seen that F is needed for the acceleration and an accelerator is needed for F.
Yeah, I may have actually watched that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the thing I could say about that is FTFE is not really helping our side, because he had a debate with her, and really he had to look up what Newton's second law was. I'm like, or first law rather, and I was like, really, dude, really? You had to look that up? Like, I just.
M. Scheidler 49, he says denial.
He still has power. Are we talking about Carl Edwards?
Ni hao ma all. Hello, Blue Feather. Let's see what else is going on here. John Rapp. Rachel clearly has a logical reasoning disability. She is adamant that RDD is the reason that there is a downward vector. I tried to explain it. I tried to explain all it means is the difference in density.
Yeah. I mean, if you stand on your head, you can kind of see where she's going with that. But what she is missing is that really what relative density is a sum of two forces. There is gravity pulling downward, and then there is buoyancy going upward. So depending on which one wins, you have your vector. If it's gravity, then your vector is down. If it's buoyancy, your vector is up. And that is density dependent. So
well, it's pretty easy to understand. I mean, just think of your grade school lessons when we taught you about displacement.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, you're either sinking down or you're being pushed up. That's how a submarine works. You know, but yeah. But now that we're on the topic, let me ask you: if you had the chance to actually debate Rachel, how would you approach that debate?
So I don't know if I would debate her precisely, because at this point, I don't, because to me, a debate is, particularly in the forum of YouTube, debates are confrontational. It's not about educating. It's about browbeating your opponent into agreeing with you. And so I don't know if I would couch it in the terms of a debate, because I think at that point, her sort of her back would be up against the wall, and she would be very defensive, and she would not be receptive to what I had to say. So it would be more of a conversation, and the way that I would approach it is sort of Socratic, in that, okay, if this is what you believe, then the natural consequence would be this, and do we see this in reality? So that would be how I would approach it. Is more is questioning. Is all right. Let's follow your logic to its logical, or to its natural endpoint, and see if that matches up with reality. If it doesn't, then obviously somewhat the logic in there is flawed. Maybe it's the base assumption, maybe it's some logical step, but I think it's really a conversation needs to be had.
Yeah. It's probably just a misunderstanding of one of the processes in the entire problem to achieve the answer. Somewhere along the line, she's probably making a wrong turn and not realizing it, and it's confusing her.
Yeah, that's what I find to be. What's the word I'm looking for? Interesting about it, or sort of compelling, as it were, is she clearly understands certain physical processes, at least, from an introductory standpoint. I mean, she understands she understands kinematics to a certain extent. She gets some very, very introductory level of relativity, although that's not easy. But there are just certain connections she's not making for some reason, and I don't know
Yeah.
what those reasons are.
Yeah. She's not a stupid lady. I'll grant you
No,
that.
no.
She knows what she's talking about for the most part. But how she comes up with her reasoning in the end is boggling.
Yeah, with Clewell's saying that she's not interested in finding the truth, I'm not overly convinced of that yet. I understand where one could get that that opinion, but I'm trying to stay more optimistic, I guess, and take her at her word that she is trying to find
Yeah.
truth, and so
I think she's still feeling the influence of Riley and Oakley, and she's having a hard time getting past that and thinking for herself. You know what I mean?
Well,
that might be,
yeah.
You know, it might be kind of the wrong way to look at it, but that's kind of how I see it. It seems almost like when I listen to her arguments, I'm listening to Riley.
What's funny is that she's going beyond Riley at this point, because she has she actually has debunked Riley, or at least naysayed what he had to, or has directly gone against one of the tenets of RDD, which is that Riley will tell you that the difference in density is what produces the acceleration. Well, is what produces the magnitude of the acceleration. Ricci has gone has said no, and this is, again, it's mind-boggling, but for her, any differential in any difference in density between the object and the medium will automatically produce an acceleration of 9.8 meters per second squared.
Yeah, and it'll be a downward acceleration towards the center of mass every time.
Well, if the density of the object is greater than the medium, but if the density of the object is less than the medium, then it's 9.8 up.
Yeah, then you'll get the forces of buoyancy and displacement happening.
So she's gone beyond Riley in a certain sense. And the thing that I'm curious about is how much she gets a lot of traction. She gets a lot of interactions on her channel. She gets a lot of negative or like downvotes and all that, but she's getting traction with her channel. So I wonder how much that has to play.
A little bit of keeping the income going.
I don't think she's quite monetized yet, but I think that's.
But she's got the traction to get there and start making money at what she's doing. So she doesn't want to risk losing that. So she's got to kind of stick to her guns, even if she knows she's wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyways, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I definitely think that that's part of the equation. Is this is what she's getting attention for, so she's going to stick with it, because that's she's becoming more of the intellectual face of the flat earth, of the remnants of the flat earth at this point.
Yeah, the remnants. Let us be clear, the remnants. Dora, thank you very much for bringing us up to date. She's heard from Carl in the last week, and he is busy with stuff outside YouTube. Well, that's good to know. At least we know he's doing okay. So thanks, Dora. Appreciate the heads up. Okay, Booma. Facty, brown paper bag time. Usual place. $500 this time. Okay, Facty, you want to kind of fill it? I'll get the pizza without pineapple.
That transaction. But,
that's funny. Neil Badger, hello, welcome to the stream. Debate is possible in an educational setting. However, debate on YouTube is questionable. And that's, I think, exactly the point Rob was trying to make. Anytime you try to conduct any kind of debate or discussion about something like flat Earth, it inevitably ends in a dumpster fire. It just ends being confrontational, because the flat Earth side of the argument simply will not capitulate, even though they have not a leg to stand on. They will stick to their guns, regardless. Willful ignorance at its finest.
Yeah, I think Crafty said it best, in that with her one and only debate workshop at this point is that a debate should be about dissemination of information. It's not so much about convincing someone, your opponent, of your point of view. It's more of getting as much information about your side to the audience as you possibly can. And on the debates I've seen on YouTube are not that.
No.
It's more of on the flat earth side of things, it's I want to be right and you need to acknowledge that I am right. And on the globe earth side of it, it's the way I've seen it is a lot of it is you're an idiot. This is why you're an idiot.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's very rarely about, and with either side, it's very rarely about actually providing education as opposed to just.
It's impossible.
Yeah,
it's impossible to get any kind of educational value out of a YouTube flat Earth debate, and I don't even know why they call them debates because they're not.
No,
they're not.
They're
it's like you. Yeah, it's like you said earlier. It's professional browbeating is what it is.
Yeah,
nothing more. It's like WWF through the mouth. Verbal WWF. That's what it's basically come to.
Yeah.
I'm tired of it. I can't listen to it anymore. It just hurts.
Yeah, I occasionally will tune into an MC Toon because he will sometimes get just crazy on board, and that's fun to watch just from a comic standpoint.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, it's sad in that the community, and I know I've harped on this before, but when I was coming in, the community was, I would watch mainly to learn from from Simon and Dan, from Conspiracy Cats and so forth, basically how to structure arguments in a way, or how to better educate. And now it's kind of, at this point, I don't think, Conspiracy Cats has moved on to bigger and better things, I guess. And I don't know. I think I've learned all I can from Simon and Dan and the rest. And now we're moving into things that I don't care about, like Karen.
Yeah, exactly. But also we're seeing a resurgence of new faces in the flat Earth community. And
Really?
Even though the faces are new, that I haven't really seen before, but they're still spouting the same stupid arguments that I was hearing 4 years ago.
Oh yeah.
That's the part that just I don't get it. Can't you come up with
winning arguments somehow?
Well, yeah. I mean, can't you come up with something new? That obviously they can't. They've got nothing.
Yeah, and maybe it's because they're new. They haven't seen all of the debunks yet, and so they haven't actually heard why their arguments are flawed. Maybe that's why they're sticking to them, or because their arguments are fairly fundamental. They're low hanging fruit, as it were, in the sense of easy to understand. Oh, it looks flat, so therefore it is flat.
Yeah, looks flat to me.
Yeah, I measured it.
Yeah, right.
Like, all right, whatever. So I wonder if that's just because these are the natural first order building blocks of the flat Earth, and they just haven't been exposed to the debunks of it yet. So I have no idea. But yeah, I agree. MC Toon does try to educate, and I do appreciate him for that. But I think he now at this point he's certainly getting more and more irritated with
yeah, you can almost hear it in his voice. I mean, I think he's reaching the point where he's going to do like I did and just say, "Forget it. I can't do this anymore." But he sure does like to take the mick out of 5G. Man, he likes to go after those people, boy, and I love it. I love it. I love watching that guy take down those 5G idiots. That's fun. It is
That's right.
funny.
I had forgotten about it. He's pretty much the only creator I've seen who actually deals with 5G deniers or
Yeah.
imbeciles.
And he's relentless. That's what I love about it. MC2, he won't let a single stupid 5G claim fly. He'll go after it. Oh, man. I love it. I just love it. Yeah, it's funny. It really is. Let's see. What do we got in the side chat here? Not a whole lot. Sable Eagle says, if I got Rachie to myself for a week, I'd take her for some pleasant walks in the Lake District and maybe set up a water level on top of Scaffell Pike. If we got a clear view on Snowdonia from up there. Okay, Sable Eagle, I'm not familiar with the area you're speaking of, but
I have heard of the Lake District. I think that's southern central England. I could be very wrong about that, but everything else I have no idea what I do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but even then, anytime you do any kind of like theodolites or any kind of experiment to show that they're wrong about water being level or being flat, so to speak, because we all agree that water is level. When it's at rest, water is level, but level don't mean flat. Yeah, morons. It doesn't mean flat. It doesn't mean what you think it means.
Gravity is a thing. So, and we live on a sphere. So, I don't know. Mm-hmm. I've been contemplating. Mainly, I've just been lazy, but I've been contemplating going and trying to find a climate change denier debunker community, because I think that's far more important than talking about Karens and soft sits and things of that nature. Is we need we need to start talking about climate change. We need to start educating people about it. Unfortunately, it's not exactly my area, but which is why I really haven't done any content on it. But I am learning more and more about it.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. It has to be talked about. It has to be addressed. It's time to let the dumbass flat earthers go and start talking about things that matter.
Yeah,
because flat earth just doesn't matter. It's stupid. It always has been. It always will be. If you want to continue believing it, then you belong out in the fields with the rest of the dumbasses, because you're nothing more than driftwood to the rest of us. Climate change has to happen. We've got to start fixing this problem. And we had a good talk about that on your channel. And there's a lot of issues that need to be addressed, and it's not going to be easy, but shoving it under the rug or not challenging those who speak out and say, it's all crap, it's all a lie, it's all bullshit. No, it's not. Look out your frickin' window and see for yourself, you idiot. It's happening.
Study, all you need to do is study the overall weather patterns of the last decade or more, and you'll see that weather is, I'm glad that we've gone away from using the term global warming to climate change, because that's a far more accurate depiction or description of what is going on. Is that, storm systems are going out of control. We're getting massive droughts and wildfires going all over the place, or at least more so than we used to. The climate is radically changing. And the thankfully, at least in the U.S., we're getting to the point where the government is actually starting to really kind of step in, and that we just had congressional hearings where, it is what it is, but they tried to hold the big oil companies to the fire in trying to determine how complicit they were in climate change misinformation. And so hopefully that will continue. And hopefully they will get dragged over the coals like Big Tobacco did. We might actually see. Yeah.
I think at first, in the beginning, in the early days, there was honest and and decent effort being made, with the Kyoto Accords and all of that, but it's just it's faltered. It seems like it's run out of steam, and they just don't care anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gotten to the point, and I might be wrong about this, Rob. Correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I think it's gotten to the point where we can't fix it anymore. But it's at a point where at least the effects of it are still manageable. If we can just stop it here and just learn to live and manage with the effects we've already seen, we're not going to turn it back. It's not going back. We've pushed it too far. But we can learn to live. We can learn to live with the damage. We can learn to live with the damage that's been done so far, but we can't let it go any further, because then we're really screwed.
We can. I have colleagues that are of that opinion. I don't know per se whether or not we've hit the point of no return or not, but I am very open to that possibility that at this point we are no longer in a preventative state or a preventative place. We are in a mitigating place.
Yeah. We're at a management phase.
Is manage the basically, what's the word I'm looking for, downfall, as it were, or the coming changes that are happening.
Yeah.
And it's one of the discussions that I think is going to be coming around fairly soon is tying space exploration or space colonization to climate change, because one way to alleviate the effects of humanity on climate is to remove humanity from the planet. I don't know whether or not we can move enough of the population off the planet fast enough for it to actually make any difference, but it would be interesting to hear experts weigh in on that. I think I would be very interested to hear experts weighing on possibly space exploration, solar system exploration might be a answer or part of the answer to mitigating climate change. Yeah.
I mean, it's at the point now where something has to be done. It has to be done. I mean, I've seen the changes with my own eyes. When I first came to Vietnam 18 years ago, you could set your watch by the daily rains and the rainy season. We knew exactly when the rainy season would stop and when it would start. We knew exactly what time of day, every day, that rain would come. Now, in the past 4 years, the warm, dry season has gotten shorter. The rainy seasons have gotten longer. The rains during the rainy seasons are getting stronger and heavier. They're not as consistent. They happen more randomly than they used to. Those are all things that are 100% due to climate change. And you can't tell me otherwise. I'm sorry, but that's as plain as day to me. Something has to be done.
I agree, and think the first thing that needs to happen is, the first thing, but we need more education out there. I think we need to bring it more to the spotlight and bring it more to the forefront of people's minds, because one of the news stories I saw recently was, which I think may actually gain traction, is investor advocacy. There are hedge funds in the States that are pro-green, and they are basically throwing their weight around with oil companies saying, if you want our support, if you want our money, you need to change your corporate model to be it more green. And so, so I think that's, if we're going to see actual change, unfortunately, I think it's going to have to come from economic pressure.
Absolutely.
Which I don't know how that. Oh, hello, B.
Oh, geez.
I don't know how that's going to work with communist China, because I have no idea how their system, their economic system works, and so I don't
Yeah,
know if economic pressures will
they're
affect them at all.
basically telling everybody else, go jam it up your ass. You had 100 years to build your countries off the back of coal. We're going to do the same. You can't stop us, and they won't.
No,
But
they
Daryl Frost in the side chat has made a comment that very much in line with what you were just saying. The U.S. needs to get off the teat of big oil. Climate change is real. It is also a natural process. And yes, you're right. You're right. It is a natural process.
Mhm.
Um, but the U.S. military uses more oil than some small nations, and that has to stop. And yes, you're absolutely right. It has to stop. He also comments that the Earth cycles between glacial periods
Mhm.
and interglacial periods, and in about 250,000 years, 250,000 year cycle, we are going from glacial periods into interglacial periods. But I was reading somewhere, Rob, are we not already overdue for the next ice age?
I don't know if we're overdue, but we're very close to it. We're very close,
Mhm.
and that's sort of the only natural saving grace, I think, is that we, depending on whether or not we can mitigate, how well we can mitigate climate change. And this is
Mhm.
obviously on century timescales, but yes, the climate will change naturally to cool itself off.
Mhm.
But again, it's whether or not we can actually get to that point, that we have any real hope of surviving as a thriving species, as it were.
Mhm. Yeah. Well,
We're
if we
still
don't do something about climate change, we're begging for a really early ice age.
okay. So Daryl's saying we're still leaving the past ice age. Okay, all right. I could be very
Are
wrong
we?
about that, but I thought we were going into going into an ice age, at the cusp of an ice age. But
Yeah.
I will just if
Yeah.
defer to
The
you on that.
article I read stated that we were something like there's something like 600 or 750,000 years between ice ages, and we're coming up to that period where the next one should be coming. So I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe those are just very conservative estimates, but yeah, like you, I thought we were heading into the next one.
Yeah, like and I am just now, like I said, it's not my area of expertise, and so I'm just now going into this, learning about the specifics of climate science. So,
Hmm.
uh,
See, it's discussions like this. I wish we had PhD Tony here. I
oh
mean, he
yeah,
could
yeah,
probably
he
clear
would.
up a lot of stuff for us. You know.
Mhm.
Um, let's see what else. Daryl Frost says citizens can do almost zero.
Yep.
Governments can do almost everything. But nothing we can do is going to stop the natural Milankovitch cycles.
Yeah, the Milankovitch cycles deal with the fact that the Earth's eccentricity or sphere, basically the sphericity of its orbit, changes
Hmm.
rather dramatically over
Hmm.
time. And why am I blanking on this? There's
It's
another cycle. It's
probably been a while since you studied it.
yeah. Um, it's the eccentricity, and it'll come to me at some point. But
Hmm.
yeah, around 40,000, every 40,000 years or so, things get a little bit wonky. Um,
Yeah.
but what was I going to say? I would actually argue that governments cannot or do not have that much power,
Hmm.
or if in order to get that much power, they actually have to be aligned. You actually have to have an administration that will effectively make change in one direction, in a positive direction. And unfortunately, in the United States, we ain't there.
Yeah.
The 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 Democratic Party has a very slim majority on policymaking, and they are the
Hmm.
ones who are pro pro grain, and we're really not getting much done.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. Yeah. It's sad though.
unfortunately,
Yeah. Because things are developing faster than we are reacting, and that's the problem.
Mhm.
That's the problem. It's getting away from us. It's already gotten away from us, and it's going to be a mad dash to catch up and stop it. So, or at least rein it down. Um, Daryl Frost says that's the problem with the climate change. It instantly triggers people for some reason, and debate stops. You're right. You're right.
I think people don't, when they hear that there is anthropomorphic climate change, I think they get defensive and they're like, "Oh, you're accusing me of destroying the planet?" Like,
Yeah.
not really. Basically, just the way we've been operating as a society has been killing the planet. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
you personally. This isn't a
Yeah.
personal attack, but I think they take
No.
it as such.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
it,
But with that in mind, I can certainly appreciate or understand China's position because they're right. For the first 100 years in American history, it burned the shit out of coal, and you built up a pretty damn powerful country with during the Industrial Revolution, all based on coal and oil. So that afforded the Western world the opportunity to become the powerful nations that they are. China is now trying to achieve that same goal, but we're telling them, no, you can't do that because you're hurting the environment. And then, of course, China gets their back up and says, well, whoa, you had a chance to do it for your countries. We want the same.
exactly.
You
And
know?
we need to be in a position where green energy or green technology needs to be disseminated toward the second and third world, because when the next emerging the next wow, there seems to be a little bit of a discussion between Sable Legal and Daryl Frost in the chat, but the next, India, for example, when India is coming up, they're going to be using coal and petroleum in their infrastructure as well. So,
Yeah.
and that's going to be that's going to be a disaster. And so there needs to be some way not only to develop these green energies, but develop them into in a way that is accessible to the entire world. And unfortunately, in that way, economics is going to actually be an impedance, because no one is going to want to do things for free.
Yeah, exactly. And I can't disagree with Sable Eagle. Yes, the orders of magnitude have been greater since 1970, but that doesn't change the fact that it's hurting the environment. But by the same token, we have to find better ways to help other countries develop their infrastructures without using oil and coal. Contributing more to the problem. Yeah, I know that it it's it's such a hard nut to crack. Really, it is, and I fully agree. I fully agree. But we talked about this a bit in your stream, because the Western world has had the opportunity to advance as far as it has. I think the onus and responsibility is on the Western world to develop better ways of 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 what's the word of creating energy, and then just give that to the countries that are behind us and let them build up their infrastructures on those new technologies and help them to help us stop the climate problem.
Yeah, and really to be, it's funny in a lot of ways. I'm optimistic when it comes to small groups of people. Like with Rachel, I'm optimistic about her. When it comes to geopolitics, I'm exceedingly cynical. And honestly, I think, I hate to say it, but one of the, we screwed up the African continent through colonialism. I think we can sort of do the same thing, but in a positive way. In that, if we give these technologies to the African nations, help them build their countries up, and at a much faster rate than they would ordinarily, we gain allies. We gain hearts and minds, as it were. And so, from a political standpoint, we now have an ally against China.
Yeah.
I hate to think of it as such an antagonistic way, but
It's true.
So I think there is, from a monetary standpoint, no, there probably isn't a way that you're going to be able to make money off that, although I'm not a business person at all. But from a political standpoint, I think a lot of capital can be gained by actually being nice as opposed to being dickheads.
Yeah. I think that's a lesson a lot of people can learn. We just need to learn to be nicer to our neighbors, kind of thing, you know. But yeah, I mean, yes, climate change is a very emotionally charged topic. Everybody's going to have a different viewpoint. I've certainly not been shy of sharing my viewpoint. I don't force it on others, but it's how I feel about things. And whenever I get the opportunity to share it, I take that opportunity. I'm not trying to piss anybody off. Sorry. And you certainly don't have to agree with my stance on the things, but at least that's the way I feel about things, you know. And hopefully something will happen. You know, who knows?
Yeah, I will. I will push back a little bit on with Daryl Frost. As far as I know, you can ice cores. You can actually well. You don't measure temperature. That's true. You measure. You basically measure the CO2 concentration or the concentration of gases in the atmosphere as a function of time, and this is vital in understanding the interplay between global temperature and CO2 concentration, which is why we know that it's anthropomorphic, and this is not a natural. The current climate crisis is a natural is not a natural process. It's one brought on by human beings. So, but I am going to not really wade too much into that because it's apparently Sable and Daryl have handled or are going back and forth quite a bit. So which is great. But I hope they're keeping it civil. But yeah, I see. This is the kind of thing that, you know, among there are spirited ideas between both sides, and we're not talking about flat earthers anymore. We're talking about intelligent people who can articulate articulate research. And so I think this is why more conversations need to be had. More, I know there's got to be a community out there on YouTube where these conversations are being had. So I would, you know, I've been lazy, but I think that's the community I want to migrate to next is that community, because I think it's much more worthwhile. It's a shame that we can't also talk about anti-vaxxers, but I've been told by multiple creators, if you try that, then YouTube will kill your channel and all that, which I don't understand, because COVID deniers are all over the place, and so I don't understand how we would get nuked and they haven't, but I'm not an expert on that.
Exactly.
So,
anyways,
really not my expertise in any form whatsoever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, we are definitely not experts in climate change at all. No. We simply have our viewpoints based on what we've seen and what I've witnessed, and just personal feeling, really.
And in the studies that I've looked into, or the studying that I've done into climate change, it's very compelling. The evidence that we have is I would almost say overwhelming, in that we have that we know that it's man-made. Yes, there are natural processes which affect our climate and change it on a geological timescale, but nothing matches up with the temperature rise that we have. It's definitely not solar. It's definitely not volcanic. It's definitely not respiration from increased biomass.
Mhm.
So it's yeah. So it's one of those things
Yeah.
where, like I said, I very much am studying the subject so that I can be more of an expert, so I can potentially put out content that's not just complete
Yeah.
bullshit.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. And then that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm done. I'm done with flat Earth. I just don't want to do it
Yeah.
anymore. But now I'm stuck with what the hell am I going to make content on next? I certainly don't want to do Karens and Sovsits because they just get my back up the second they open their yap. I just no, they're
yeah,
worse than flat earthers to me.
because they
But
have such the at least flat earthers, there are multiple sort of there's multiple stupidity to deal with. There are different um, different arguments, as it were. I mean, we've all heard the arguments, but there's a plethora of arguments. Whereas with Karens and Softs, it's the same thing over and over again.
yeah,
Karens are
yeah,
unreasonable, and Softs don't understand basic law. I mean,
yeah, exactly. They just make up their own laws and think that's enough to let it fly.
yeah.
You know, Karen's is all about me, 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 me. My rights and my personal feelings supersede all else.
Mm-hmm. Kind of going back to the Raichi thing is that what's funny is that there is a conversation to be had there about gravity, because
Mhm.
there is the standard model which still considers gravity a potential force, but then there is relativity where gravity is not a force. Not to say that there
Mhm.
is no effective mass and all that, but it's
Mhm.
technically not a force. So trying to understand what gravity actually is a very interesting question
Yeah.
that is getting muddled by a whole bunch of non-experts in the field. So yeah, that would, if I was going to continue along sort of flat Earth adjacent, I might
Mhm.
start making more content along in that direction
Mhm. Mhm.
of that, because I think it would be amazing for them to because the Earth is not flat, but the universe is, and I'm
Yeah,
hoping for them to
exactly.
figure that or to come up and
Yeah,
figure
that'll throw a wrench in the works, I'll tell you.
that.
you know, oh my God, I don't know if I want to be around to see what happens then. Uh, but yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
Go ahead.
that sounds like it could be interesting content. Rather than actually arguing with flurfs, just make content to clarify their misunderstandings.
Yeah, yeah. I
You
just
know,
there's a um what's the word I'm looking for? It's tricky because that's where science communication can really uh, that's where I need to know, or I need to have a better handle on science communication, because when we start getting into things like the standard model and relativity, we got get into pretty heady sort of math intensive subject matter. So it's trying to learn how. For me, the challenge is trying to take that material and translate it into something that a citizen scientist could
hmm
understand and
hmm yeah,
recognize, or
yeah.
not.
Um,
Mhm.
I'm noticing quite a few deleted messages in the side
Yeah, I
chat.
was noticing that too.
Um, don't delete messages, guys, please. Whether you agree with someone or not, they have a right to their opinions. So just if you don't agree with them, don't answer, but don't delete messages. If you guys could uh, help me out there, I'd really appreciate it. Okay, I want everyone to feel like they are free to speak their minds, whether others agree with them or not. Okay, let's keep things
Agree.
friendly here. Okay.
Agree.
Tiny Captain, don't worry. There will always be new stupidity. So also new flirfs. It only takes them longer to figure out how to make videos.
God. Oh yeah.
You are absolutely right. Problem is, when they do figure out how to make videos, they just regurgitate the same crap again and again
Same
and
shit
again.
over and over again. The
Nobody's
Black
come up with
Swan.
anything new. No one's come up with anything new, and that's that's why I've reached my limit. I just can't go on with it anymore.
Yeah, because there's nothing to. Because the problem with the main problem I have with the flat Earth movement is, particularly when they start dictating what is and what isn't science, is that a core principle of science is continually asking the question, why? Okay, why does the sun come up in the morning and set at night? Well, the Earth rotates. Why does the Earth rotate? Why did the Earth start spinning in the first place? You continually get an answer, you form a new question, you ask why, and you move on from there. Flat Earth is fine in saying, oh yeah, the Earth is flat and we can't possibly know anything more. Like, bullshit. That's not how science is done. It's never, it's never settled. The questions are never settled. And but the flat Earth movement seems to be fine with just, okay, the Earth is flat, gravity isn't real. We can't possibly know anything more.
Yeah.
Blue Feather message deleted because you are too awesome to read it.
Oh, jeez. Come on, Blue Feather. Don't delete it. Don't delete it. John.
Clive, I don't want to. I'm not really advocating dumbing down maths and physics content. It's more trying to make it accessible for the layperson to get it, because this is where my optimism comes in. I believe that if you can make it accessible, if the information is accessible enough, and you can repeat it enough, then people will start to consider it. They will at least try start questioning their preconception. So I'm not suggesting that any content be dumbed down. More, like I said, be accessible. It would be really nice if our educational system were better at preparing people to get to that, to understand these concepts. But I understand, I'm biased. Obviously, I want to have students focus more in on science than English or any other subject. But
yeah, absolutely. But unfortunately, most people don't understand the details, and that's a hard nut to crack. I mean, how do you educate the world?
It is, and to a certain extent, I can understand why they would, because when it comes to, there are a lot of subjects that I have no fucking idea about, like finance. Finance is just. I do not know what it. I mean, I know what an NFT is, but I have no concept of how this is making money. How is it a picture, a digital image, is somehow worth millions of dollars? I don't. My head will not wrap around that idea.
No, I can't. I can't figure it out. I mean, an oil painting from Rembrandt that's 600 years old or something, that I can understand. That has inherent value,
Exactly. It has historical significance. Yeah.
Yeah, but a digital image online, I mean, come on. If you're going to pay millions of dollars for that, you're a bigger idiot than the guy who's out there selling them.
Yeah, I just saw an article where the McRib is now an NFT. Like, the McRib, this is something that needs to be rare and special and worth money. I'm like, no. What is our society coming to that we emphasize this?
Exactly. I mean, somebody paid like $250,000 because some idiot walked into an art gallery, threw up a blank canvas, nailed a banana to it, and walked out. That's art. Come on. I mean,
yeah, I was at the worst. Well, maybe not the worst, but some of the. So in the MoMA in LA, one of the pieces of art that they had, which is actually kind of nifty, but from a physics standpoint, were literally 3 basketballs suspended in water in a large fish tank. That's it. That's all it was. And it was nifty because if you moved to certain areas, there was diffraction and you could see the tops of the balls were sliding off the bottom of the ball. But from an artistic standpoint, it's literally basketballs in a swim tank. Like,
Holy
what the
mackerel.
living fuck.
Holy mackerel.
The other one that kind of almost made my brain fry was I was in the High Museum in Atlanta, and this was a huge, almost wall-size installation, perfectly white canvas with a square-inch block of red, dead center. That's it. Big white canvas, square inch, square red. That's it. Like, what are you doing?
Wow.
Like, what? Why is this?
A lot of talent went into that, boy. You know, take your kid's ABC block, stick it in some red paint, go poink. There you go. I'm a millionaire.
There you go. Yeah. Like,
oh man, the art world is something I'll never get my head around.
particularly modern art.
Never.
I really do not understand modern art in any way whatsoever.
It's whatever you can throw at a canvas, really.
I don't. I'm a simple man. I like my classical art. I like my classical sculpture. Give me a Rodin I guess neoclassical. Give me a Rodin any day of the week, and I'm happy. But give me basketballs in a fish tank, and I scratch my head, being why would I want to own that or look at that for more than 5 minutes?
Exactly. What do I do? Put some carp in there to swim around the balls? What do I do with this thing? Exactly. Makes you wonder,
Although I will say that there are pieces of modern art that actually I find to be impressive. There was the two pieces that I saw. There was it's immense. I don't know what metal it's made out of, but it basically looks like aluminum. But it's a giant balloon animal of a dog. And we're talking, this thing stands at the shoulder probably 20 feet.
Wow.
And it looks like a balloon animal made out of metal. I'm like, that took skill to make. I mean, I don't know if I consider it art exactly, but it took a fuck of a lot of skill to make that, which I appreciate.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there was a one by Warhol, which was a giant stack of, like, this is 30 feet high at the apex, giant stack of Kellogg's cornflakes boxes. And what I found to be interesting about that one was if you're far enough away from it, it looks like cardboard boxes. It looks like you can just run into the thing and just scatter the boxes everywhere. But if you go up to it, it's hardwood. Like I liked it because it was an interesting optical illusion. But other than that, modern art, I don't. That's another thing I can't wrap my head around.
Yeah, it makes no sense to me. I mean, I didn't. One of the first episodes I did on the Pain of Progress was on actually the second episode. It was on duct tape, and I featured some art, duct tape art, which I found kind of interesting. Some really, really nice pieces, all done in duct tape instead of paint, just colored duct tape. That again, that takes some talent to do that.
Exactly. If there's a level of skill and imagination that goes into making that art, I can appreciate that.
That's what I like about those pieces that I've seen where they take an old cassette tape and they pull all the tape out of it and they form a portrait of the artist on that tape. Like they did one on Jimi Hendrix and they did one on the Beatles, I think. And that is ingenious. That speaks to me.
Not to name drop, but I actually know that artist, Erica Simmons. Yes, I have one of her pieces in my home. It's the Nirvana baby from Nevermind. But yeah, I don't know if there are more artists who did it, but she's the one who pioneered it.
Oh wow!
And yes, and she does. She also does work with vinyl and 8mm like film. Like there's one she did a piece with Marilyn Monroe with 8mm film. So
Yeah, see, that's something that speaks to me. That connects the artist with the medium that they sold their work on. You know, that kind of art I can appreciate. But if you're going to nail a banana to a white canvas and hang it up, guess what? You ain't getting nothing from me.
yeah, I'm like, all right,
You
man,
know,
all right.
no, it ain't gonna happen. Ain't gonna happen. Um, John Rapp says he's got to go get some sleep before it's 0300 hours. Bye bye, everyone. Well, thanks for coming, John.
Okay.
Always nice to see you here. Have yourself a good rest, and I'll see you next week. You take care.
I saw Dora was saying aluminum. What's that? Would you prefer aluminium?
I think he's kind of yanking your chain there, Dora. 9 o'clock hero. Hey,
Hey,
I
yeah,
didn't
that's
see you pop into the chat. Hello, hello, hello. Let's see. When the Ashmolean reopened, an empty gallery had 20 plus fire extinguishers stored in a corner, waiting inspection and distribution. Many visitors photoed it, thinking it was some abstract exhibit. That's funny. Oh, that's funny. Thank you for that 9 o'clock hero. That's funny. Clive Well says, I saw some nice geometrical sculptures in chrome and stainless steel that are mathematically precise. That's
Yeah.
interesting. That actually brings to mind a piece that I saw, not in person, but I've seen it in pictures. 3 iron plates. And these iron plates were all coated in baked enamel, but as you go from the bottom to the top, they curve, and the curve was perfectly exponential from the bottom to the top.
nice.
You know, it's just like the golden ratio, basically, just perfectly exponential curvature from the bottom to the top. And I thought that was a really neat piece because when you look at it at a certain angle, even though the enamel is all one solid color, you can see gradients of color of that color as you look up.
Very
And I
cool.
thought that was a really visually interesting piece. And all it was a bent steel plate coated in enamel.
Yeah, I don't think. I think art can be simple, but if it's imaginative, like
Yeah.
if it's a way of looking at something that is, you take a mundane, if you take a mundane object, which is what I think they were trying to do with the basketballs, and try to show in a different perspective. But I think it can be done poorly or it can be done well. And like you were saying, with just taking a steel bar or steel beam and curving it at an exponential rate and covering it in enamel so that the color changes as you go up. That's
brilliant.
Yeah, exactly.
That tells me that the artist had a really good understanding of the change in color from different angles and different lighting and perspectives. He understood the medium he was working with. So yeah, that's the kind of stuff that I like. But again, go hang your banana somewhere else.
As you said before, art needs to be provocative. It needs to provoke some sort of emotional response.
Yeah, but it also needs to kind of make sense to the viewer as well.
Yeah. I don't understand art that is so far up its own ass that you have to have an art degree in order to understand what the artist is trying to say.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, it's kind of like I was saying with Clive. It's making it accessible, rather than so that people can understand it and ask their own questions and or ask how they feel about a piece of artwork. And we have a Johnny in the house.
Oh, hey, how you doing, Johnny? Plot Hole is in the house. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Always good to see you. Oh, that reminds me, everyone, if you look at the top of the screen, there's a small message for everyone. Johnny's been running this for about a month now. and that is the fight for breast cancer, the Pink Fund,
Pink Fund.
and also through Yotega Studio. Links are in the description. If you can give anything to help support the fight against breast cancer, even a little bit will help. So yeah, check out the description. If you can make a donation, that would really be helpful. Johnny is closing down the Yotega Studio donation link next week. So, but the Pink Fund is always active. And next week, I'm going to be replacing Yotega with Movember for men's testicular cancer, which is equally deserving. So, yeah, anything you guys can do to donate. Do not donate directly to me. I have no way of really getting it to Johnny efficiently, especially being here in Vietnam. So please use the links in the description. And both Johnny and myself would really, really thank you. So
he did dye his beard pink for a good cause.
Yeah, well, to be honest, on a personal note, my sister-in-law recently had a mastectomy a couple of months ago, and it left my brother in a pretty bad state. But she's recovering. You know, I try and donate locally, but I do believe that no matter where you are, somebody is going to get some kind of help from whatever you can donate. So,
I would imagine that going through something like that, or for man, unfortunately, potentially losing a testicle because of cancer, there's sort of a loss of identity, because that goes directly to your identity.
It does. It does.
And
it's psychologically, the damage is even greater. And it's the same for women when they lose a breast. I mean, that's nothing small to joke about. That is a serious thing. Because even though you've lost a breast or you've lost a testicle, that's not the point. The point is the disease that caused you to lose it can spread further. And if it's not caught early, dire consequences await. So, and that's what these charities are for, to help fund the research to help prevent these things from happening, or at least give the people affected better quality of life and hope, you know?
Potentially fund research that makes such invasive procedures no longer necessary. Being able to for folks to not only be able to beat the disease, but beat the disease in a more dignified manner.
Exactly.
More or less psychologically harmful way.
Exactly. So. Yeah. And I applaud what JL and John have been doing with this, dyeing their beards pink. If I had a beard, I'd have done the same, but I don't have a beard, sorry. But yeah, I mean,
I briefly contemplated dyeing my hair pink, but I was like, I don't put out a lot of content, so I don't know. And I love my hair color. Probably, it's poor excuses. I know, but
well, I too have considered dyeing my hair pink for that, to show my support. But being a grade school teacher, I kind of have to, my higher ups might not. My higher ups might not appreciate it, And I know I know the kids in the classroom every day. Teacher got pink hair, and forget about keeping them focused then, But I do try to support whenever I can. So, Daryl, hello. You're back. So basically, you have no. Okay, all right. Let's put this argument to rest. Okay, guys. we know that climate change is a very charged topic, and I'm sure we'll talk about it more in future. But let's kind of move on for this evening, and you're more than welcome to go ahead and discuss it in Discord to your heart's content. But I'd like to move on if we can. So, Dora,
I
shame
like
on
to hear
you. I
more from
got
Dora and
parts.
how much she likes my content.
Yeah,
That's,
she loves your. She says your content is great, and I have to agree with her. I'm gonna
Appreciate
back
that.
you up, Dora. I'm gonna back you up. She's right. You do make very good content, and I'm sure a lot of people would appreciate seeing more. I know I would. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
I hopefully things are like I said. Hopefully things are settling down, and so I can make content. One of the things that I want that I'm really planning on doing, not only just from a content creation, but also from just from a work standpoint, is I'm going to use the break to create all of my ASTR, one of my introductory astronomy lectures. That way, because one of the things that I ran into is I bit off more than I could chew in terms
Mhm.
of fiddling with my classes and trying to make them more of an active learning environment, and that took far more work than I anticipated. So I'm going to be using. So I will be putting out. Hopefully, I will be putting out a lot of content from just lecture standpoint over the Christmas break. So
That's awesome. That rocks. That rocks. I'm going to look forward to that. I really will.
yeah, I
Awesome.
appreciate that.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay.
The other
Let's see.
I think one of the things that last time we were talking, we were I don't know. There was where I was going with this is there was a collaboration, although I don't know how far it went, but there was a collaboration we using with Conspiracy Cats, AB Science, and a few other folks, and they were basically doing whatever the British version of the SAT is. I think
Yeah.
GSCE.
The GSCE. Yeah.
Yeah, they were doing prep classes, and it would be nice to do that again, or try to create maybe something like that as well.
Hmm.
A group of folks who create educational content to create
Yeah. Yeah.
educational content.
Yeah.
So,
Well, being at your level, you could probably manage. You could probably do the same thing for helping people to prepare and study for the SATs if they're considering going into university, specifically in the field of astronomy or astrophysics. There's probably some pretty heavy testing and prep before you enter that kind of program.
I
So
used
maybe,
to hold on, my computer is threatening to restart itself. So I used to do MCAT prep, which was the for medical school, because I used to teach at Emory University, which is a lot of pre-meds. I used to teach physics to a lot of pre-meds and General Certificate of Secondary Education.
yes.
So basically the American version of the SAT,
Mhm.
and or the British version of the SAT. Anyway, what I was going with was, where was I going with this? Oh yeah, pre-meds in a certain way are a dream to teach because
Mhm.
they don't fuck around. They want to know what you have to teach them, and they
Mhm.
are driven. Being future doctors, you kind of expect that. But the
Mhm.
problem is, they have a very, because they're coming from the life sciences, they have a very memorize or like box approach to learning. Like I need to memorize everything about this subject in order to learn it. And so what they want, though, they try to do is they memorize every single possible physics problem that they will ever encounter, which is
Mhm.
not possible. So it's hard to teach them because it's you with physics, it's more of a learning process, learning how to solve problems rather than
Mhm.
memorizing the problem itself. And so that was a kind of a
Yeah, learning how to
drawback.
deal with the variables.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I did do MCAT prep with physics and
Cool.
taught all that. So,
Cool. Well, it's an idea for the future. Maybe, if you're looking for something to put out, that could be an avenue for you to pursue. You know, I
Yeah.
think it would be really interesting content. I'm sure a lot of viewers would watch it just because they're curious about the physics you teach to a pre-med.
Yeah, I think I've been thinking about also branching out and doing uh, basically physics videos, doing just
Mhm.
introductory, because I used to teach introductory physics, algebra-based physics, and trying to do videos on that as well. Although the format on that, I don't know how well, because it's a lot of equations, it's a lot of numbers. I don't know
Mhm.
how that would. I don't know how well I would be able to communicate that, because I've
Yeah.
tried doing equations on PowerPoints, and that is just way too time consuming.
Yeah, the trick is taking that kind of dry content and visualizing it in a way that people can follow.
Yeah,
That's the hard part. But if
and
you
I
can
am
find a
not.
way to visualize it rather than just presenting numbers, it'd probably go a lot further into getting people to understand it. You
Yeah,
know?
and I just don't have the graphical wherewithal to.
Well, that's what I'm here for, man.
Oh, all
I'm your
right.
buddy. If you got something you need to visualize, tell me what it is, and I'll see what I can do to put it into a graphic form.
Okay.
I help everybody. I mean,
Yes,
that's
yes, you do, and it's
you
awesome.
know that's just that's just who I am. But Clyde Wells says that they have a STEP program preparing students for the sixth-term examination papers. These are almost always a requirement for entry to the maths course at Cambridge. Interesting.
All right. Well, you'll have to explain what sixth term examination papers are, because
Mm.
when it comes to the British system, all I know are newts and owls. So I'm assuming sixth term is essentially the last term before college. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is. I think it's either the final year of high school or uh, the end of the first 2 years of college. I'm not sure. I'm not that familiar with the UK college or higher education system,
No.
but they're tough nonetheless.
Yes, yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's the only thing
Oh,
I know from. That's the only impression that I get from the UK system, is that it is
check
tough.
out the latest. Check out the last comment from Daryl Frost.
C squared equals E over M. Discuss.
Okay, dirt.
All right. Yeah.
Don't ask
True.
me.
Yeah, that's true. We're going to talk about taking the end of A levels. Okay. Again, is that an?
Well,
I'm assuming
Tiny Captain says that you could use something like Scribe to communicate the numbers. It mostly works.
Scribe. Okay.
Scribe. Okay, well, I'm sure Rob will have a look at that.
Yeah.
But I come at this more from the perspective of a teacher who deals with children, and often the only way to get basic concepts through to children is through visualization. So I might have a very, very dumbed down kind of childlike approach, but that's what I deal with on a daily basis. That's what I've been doing for the past 10, 20 years. I got to use pictures and little cute animals and things to get the kids to understand that you do that, this will happen, you know? Um, but in many cases, for more advanced topics, adults are very much the same. They will respond better if there is some level of visualization happening because it just
Oh yeah.
helps them to get around the basic concepts.
I
And
mean,
once they've
even when
got
I'm.
that, they can move forward.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I was going to say that even during scientific talks, I gravitate more towards speakers that can provide things like simulations and animations
Yeah,
to their
yeah,
talks, because it makes
exactly.
it engages better. It makes things not so dull, and
Yeah.
so
I mean, how interested would you be, or how much would you ever learn from a television broadcast from NASA with a scientist who's got nothing but a marker and a whiteboard? You know, anytime you see anything out of NASA, it's fully animated and visualized as it's being explained by the scientists,
Yep.
you know, because it has to be, or most people just wouldn't get it.
yeah, or if they wouldn't get it, they just don't care. They're just
Yeah.
not. Sadly, there is a certain amount of truth to you have to. Sadly, there's a certain amount of truth that entertaining your students helps them learn, at least from a intellectual or a introductory level, to help them stay engaged and to keep up with the knowledge, keep up with the material. So I used to rebel against that quite a bit, but I found that in my classes that generally works. Is if I can engage them in some sort of a little bit entertaining way, then I can keep their attention and they can actually learn what I'm trying to put down.
Sable Eagle says a catapult launches a 5-kilogram house cat at 30 meters per second at an angle of 60 degrees from the vertical. How long does it take does the cat have to turn around and land on its feet? I don't know, Rob. It seems to me like the answer would be never, because I think that would put the cat in orbit. You know,
Yep.
I could be wrong though.
The escape speed for the Earth is 11.7 kilometers per second. So no, the cat would go really far, but it wouldn't quite get into orbit.
Okay, well, the cat's got a long time to get turned around.
Yeah, exactly.
And even if he doesn't, he ain't going to survive the landing anyway.
Yeah, its feet are going to be a little broken by the time it hits. But that reminds me that my AP physics teacher back in high school, one of his exams was essentially superheroes. He was one of these things where if Lois Lane falls off a building with this initial velocity, blah blah blah, how long will Superman have in order to save her from hitting the ground?
Yeah.
So since I still remember that from high school, it made it.
Tiny Captain says that with regard to Scribe, it is a program that draws it in a video instead of just showing the numbers.
Okay.
That might be something useful for you to look into.
Yeah. You know, I may have heard of it. I could be wrong. Is it one of these things where it has a fake hand that draws the whatever it is?
I believe it is. It is. Yeah.
I think I may have seen that.
I remember correctly. It does that animated whiteboard drawing.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. That's very, very cool. I like let's see. Second catapult launches Karen at 40 meters a second at an angle of 45 degrees from the vertical at the same time. If the cat is to scratch Karen's stupid face as they meet, how far apart are the bases of the catapults?
I think I might need to hire Sable Eagle to write my if I teach physics again, to have him write my
well, there you go. You see, we found you a collaborator. Dora says, "Is there peanut butter involved?
Will there be punch and pie?"
That's funny. Tiny Captain says yes. So yeah, it's that program that does the whiteboard drawing stuff, which is kind of cool. It's kind of cool, actually. I should look.
I saw that maybe a few months ago, and I was like, it was one of these things where I need to look more into that, and then butterflies or squirrels, and I just kind of completely forgot about it. But yeah, I've got it written down now. So
yeah, Nimrod says, "Is it Schrodinger's cat? In which case, never and immediately. Okay, this is getting a little bit out of hand here. Final calculation was how far backwards Superman should have thrown himself in the equal and opposite reaction.
True.
So,
Well,
anyways, we're coming up on 2 hours here, buddy. This has been a great conversation. I can go on for another hour. Really, I could.
Same here.
But I don't know if people in the chat can hang on that long.
Exactly.
Yeah. But anyways, I'd like to kind of shut this down because it is getting late here.
It's what, 11 p.m. for you?
Yeah, exactly. So I'd like to give the last couple of minutes to you, Rob, to say whatever you want to say, and I just thanks for being here.
Oh yeah, thank you for having me. And it's some point, like I keep saying, I will get my kind of talk show stream back and up and running. And I would love to have you back on.
Oh, I would love that.
Point. So maybe we can maybe we can have a competition to see which one of us can get Dora on first as a guest.
That's going to be me. That's going to be
right.
me. If anybody gets Dora online on a oh yeah, you kidding? Dora, you hear me, Dora? You're going to make your debut online on my stream. Okay, because we all want you.
Yeah.
All right, Dora. Yeah.
Oh.
Anyways,
that actually.
Go ahead.
It's time to egress. Message deleted by Crafty Keela. I was going to ask, now that Crafty is in Scotland at the moment, is there going to be a flip side tomorrow?
Oh yeah, that's I'm glad you brought that up. No, Crafty is traveling on a holiday, a well-deserved holiday. So we're gonna skip the flip side this week so she can just kind of relax and enjoy her time. And we'll be back next week with a regular flip side, and Tusk will join us then. Okay, so no flip side tomorrow. If she's in the chat, Crafty, enjoy your holiday, and we'll see you when you get back. Okay. And with that, Rob, thank you so much for coming on. It's been great having you here. And if you do get your live stream going again, anytime, you just give me a buzz. I would love to be there. I had such a good time last time, and I'd love to do that again. Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And as for the rest of you in the side chat, thank you all for coming out. Really, really do appreciate it. Remember, if you want to support the fight against breast cancer, please use the links in the description below. Johnny would thank you, and so would I. And that's it. I'm done. Rob, thank you. Yeah. And we're out of here.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Kristen. She just showed up.